Are you sure you want to do this? There's no other more emblematic phrase for a DM to tell a player. When it pops up, you know something stupid's about to go down. And if you are a player, that should be the moment you reassess your entire life. Or stick to your guns, completely ignore any warning, and do whatever anyways. Honestly, respect if you do that. This is the story of the latter. Quick rundown of the cast. We have the comic relief, the thick barbarian, both literally and figuratively as expected, the broody ranger with a chip on his shoulder, and the mysterious but well-meaning assassin. And the who after the campaign went on to pull a knife on somebody. Therefore, they are being retroactively expunged from the situation, so don't think about them too hard. Sidebar, this person had also made the theme song for the group, which I used to play during the retrospective of each session. They are the Cockfighters. Yes, that was the name of the group. No, I'm not telling you why. That story is for another time, so make sure to subscribe and like for that. The party had just left the kingdom, full of zealots that persecuted quote-unquote monstrous races. They did so via a scar in the landscape, a massive chasm that went through the mountain pass that separated said kingdom from the desolate coastal region. They were with a caravan of refugees made up of those persecuted peoples. The leader of this caravan tasked the group with retrieving a powerful ancient artifact, the very one that had been used to create the chasm in the first place, an ancient staff made out of pure gold that the caravaneers could use to defend themselves, if they ever needed it. The party travels to the chasm. Now, since there were no mages in the group, I decided to give them an artifact to help them with utility spells they could use in various tasks, including the one ahead. So on their way to the chasm, they found a cube with an ancient archmage imprisoned inside it. Besides being a cool item, it also added a side quest for them, which was to find the keys scattered throughout the world that would unlock the cube and release the mage. It also added some intrigue. Was the mage a good guy, unjustly imprisoned like he said, or a bad dude just biding his time? Regardless, he could cast spells from inside his prison. Without going into details, the item essentially gave the holder a couple spell slots to use wizard spells with, though not all spells were available, and you also had to convince the wizard to expend them. Anyways, they arrive at the chasm. They look down its mighty length, which I described as about the height of the Empire State Building. Where the river at the bottom of the chasm below met the ocean, a big vortex swirled, clearly magical. I asked them how they would reach the bottom, since they were told the staff was probably underwater at the bottom of the ravine. I expected them to utilize the freaking item I just gave them, but no, they're players. So of course that's not what they did. No, it can't be that simple. What came next was, a choice. Hearing that, one of my players, appropriately the Dwarven Barbarian, says he will surf his way down to the bottom like Dante from Devil May Cry. Are you sure you want to do this? I reiterated to him the height, and I remember some players groaning and going, oh no. But he replied without hesitance or thought, yes. And I said, okay. Roll me a few athletic checks. So, we'll say you enter rage to do this, so I'm giving you advantage on those. Also to mitigate the damage you're 100% going to be getting. What? Nothing. Okay, good, but not good enough. Okay, give me a second while I figure this out. I confess, it might have been at this point that I forgot that terminal velocity was a thing, though I don't think it would have made that much difference. Okay, maybe just a bit of a difference.
Do you like wanton gratuitous abuse of power?
You did not just do that. You did not just kill Still Me. There, we're even.
Do you have a sense of humor?
Shadow bar. There you go.
Do you like this video? Do you like me? Then become a member today! Or tomorrow, this offer is not time sensitive. Get access to funny emotes and a thank you in the videos. Thank you to my favorite member, that sounds very wrong, Thiago. Favorite because you are the only one.
I think the all-encompassing, dreadful silence slowly made him realize his mistake. Eventually, I piped up. Okay, so you jump and attempt to carve your way down the mountain by digging your axe into the rock. You do manage to do that, completely blunting your blade in the process. It, however, is not enough to stop your descent. Only slow it down for about a moment, then you're in free fall again. By the time you are reaching the ground, you do realize you're going to die, but you do not manage to hold on to anything before meeting the water. From above, you all see your friend fall into the river below like Wally Coyote. How do you pronounce his name in English? What the fuck? He splashes into the water and disappears into it, but quite obviously, he is dead. And so, the group climbs down after being informed they could resurrect their friend, but would need their body. This was their real first campaign in 5e, by the way. But in my defense, this was like the 8th session. I didn't expect that the concept of gravity had not sunk in yet. Well, it sure as hell sunk in now. Safely down, they send their most nimble person with a rope to get the body and also retrieve the artifact. That person? The comic relief character. Which turned out to be quite the decision. After a reminder of the item that they had just gained, they asked the mage in the cube to use a water breathing spell on the diver. And off he went. He tied a rope to the dwarf, then stared at the big magical vortex nearby. And of course, being the comic relief, he did not hesitate to swim towards it and get sucked into it. There. He feels the sun drying his wet clothes in person. He opens his eyes to a purple and orange sky in eternal twilight. He looks around his glowing magical beach. Sitting on it, as the tide came in and out around him, was a specter. Beside him, a skeleton with a satchel, and a staff made out of pure gold peeking out. The group had dealt with hostile ghosts before, so our quote-unquote hero was weary, but the ghost was friendly. Hello, visitor. Won't you sit down and watch the sunset with me? I'm joking. The sun never actually moves here. The comic relief found this had been the mage that had created the chasm. He called himself Father, his name of virtue, which he had decided only moments before his death. With that, our hero finds out this was the Father of Liberty, one of the tiefling leaders of the refugees they were helping, the one closest to the group. The Spectre's unfinished business here was not vengeance against the kingdom that persecuted him, but to deliver one final message to his family. I love you. The comic relief, in a baffling moment of lucidity, placed his hand on the ghost's shoulder. Somehow, don't think too much about it. Then promises that he would deliver that message. With a single sparkling tear and a thank you, the ghost was gone. Picking up the staff and diving into the ocean, the comic relief returned to the material plane and to his friends, as they all dry out on the rocks next to the cliffside, alongside his friend's corpse. The session came to a close. After the session, the dwarf ended up in a Valhalla sort of place, tried to steal a God of War's sword, and got reincarnated, which meant he had to roll for his new race, which was, to his ultimate chagrin, a gnome. But those are stories for another time. And if you want, then make sure to subscribe and like. During that first walk out of the kingdom through the chasm, the barbarian did fail a row and nearly fell from the canyon, managing to stop his fall by digging his axe into the rock face. So this incident might have been why he thought his idea would work. Ever talk to someone about a book and realize you both have completely different mental images of the characters in the scenes? Well, the same's true for D&D. Everyone in the session has a completely different mental image of what's going on, and the DM is the bridge between the fake reality and the fake real reality. Well, the problem here was kinda like that, except it wasn't about the image of the situation, but the tone. When he mentioned Devil May Cry, it was pretty clear the tone he wanted, which was very different from the tone that the campaign had taken thus far. So it was a misunderstanding, but instead of simply allowing him to do it but setting like impossible odds against him, I should have tried to correct his course, and applied what Renly Mulligan once called some sort of like GM Aikido, and set him a more tone-correct course to do what he wanted, which was getting down the cliffside while looking cool. So although I think I did do my due diligence by informing him of the hard odds, giving him chances to not immediately die, reinforming him of the height of the precipice, I still feel like I didn't quite do what I should have done as a good DM, and that's what I learned. Oh hey look, we found Darth Maul's lower half. Kill her with a shovel. Then use the classic, the door's too small for you trick. Ah, you idiot.